Hey guys, this is Mrs. Brigman, and today we're going to continue with Unit 1. This is Lesson 7, Subtracting Integers. Our essential question for this lesson is, how do I subtract integers? When subtracting integers, the most important thing that you need to remember is there is no such thing as subtraction. And I know this sounds a little crazy, but if you can remember this, it will help you when you are subtracting with negative numbers. Take a look at your guided notes and please fill in the blanks. The rule for subtracting integers is very simple. You need to remember 3 words, and those words are add the opposite. What you're going to do when you see the subtraction sign in the middle of 2 terms is you're going to change that subtraction sign to addition, and then you'll change the second number or term to its opposite. Here is your flowchart for your subtracting integer rule. Again, you're going to see add the opposite, the most important thing you need to remember. And then once you've done this little rule right here, you're going to have an addition problem, so you're just going to revert back to your addition rule. You're going to ask yourself, are the signs the same? If the answer is yes, you're going to add the numbers and keep the common sign. And if the answer is no, you're going to find the difference between the numbers and you're going to keep the sign of the larger number, just as you learned in Lesson 6. Let's try an example. If you would, please find your guided notes and copy exactly as I do on the video. You can see that we have 2 minus 7. What I would like for you to do is rewrite this problem in the margin of your paper. So we have 2 minus 7. I see that this is a subtraction problem, so I'm going to remember my rule, which is add the opposite. Now, a little trick that you can do is called the vertical line method, and what you're going to do is draw 2 vertical lines around your subtraction sign straight down. This is just a little tool to help keep your work organized, so I highly recommend you try the first couple of examples with the vertical lines, and as you get better at subtracting integers, you can of course drop the lines, but in the beginning, let's try the vertical line method. Then what we're going to do is we're going to keep the first term the same, so that just drops down. Your subtraction sign is going to change to an addition sign, because remember our rule is to add the opposite. So, just to review, you keep this first term exactly the same. Your subtraction becomes addition, and we're going to change the second number to its opposite. The opposite of positive 7 is negative 7. Now at this point you see you just have a simple addition problem. So you'll have to remember your rule for adding integers, and the rule says if the signs are different, which in this case they are, we have a positive and a negative, the signs are different, we're going to find the difference between the 2 numbers. The difference between 7 and 2 is 5. So in my head I'm just mentally thinking 7 take away 2 is 5. And that's the difference between the numbers. And then we're going to keep the sign of the larger number, and in this case 7 is larger than 2, so we're going to keep that negative. Your final answer is negative 5. Let's try a word problem, and for this word problem I'm going to start by drawing a picture for you to help illustrate the problem, and then we will write the equation or the formula that you would use to solve it. So let's go ahead and get started. It says the highest point in Asia is Mount Everest at 8,850 meters. So what I'd like for you to do is sketch a picture of a little mountain, and we're going to pretend this is Mount Everest. And it tells us that Mount Everest is 8,850 meters high. The shore of the Dead Sea, the lowest point in Asia, is about 410 meters below sea level. So let's just pretend that this is sea level, and sea level would represent 0 if this were a number line, a vertical number line. And the lowest point is 410 meters below sea level. Now, because I'm working below 0, this is going to be a negative integer, so negative 410 meters. What is the difference between these elevations? Well, using the picture, I can find the difference between the top of this mountain to the very bottom of the Dead Sea by simply adding the numbers. You see, from here to here is 8,850 meters. And then from 0 to negative 410 represents a distance of 410 meters. So to find the difference, I can just add these numbers. And I'm going to get 9,260 meters. This tells me the distance from the top to the very, very bottom, the total distance. Now, if I were going to write the formula, this is how I would do it. We are looking for the difference, so that means we're going to subtract. So we'll use the subtraction sign. You're going to subtract your highest number minus your lowest, as you normally would. So we've got 8,850, and we're going to subtract a negative 410. Because this integer is negative, I'm going to put parentheses around it just to separate my symbols here. Alright, I can tell that I'm subtracting integers, so I'm going to use my subtracting integer rule, which is to add the opposite. Using my vertical lines, which I'll draw here, we're going to keep the first term the same. We'll change our subtraction to addition because we're adding, and then our second number, we change it to its opposite. We are adding the opposite, so this is going to become positive 410. And then as you can see, we have a regular addition problem. The signs are the same, so add the numbers and keep the common sign, which is positive 9,260 meters. All right, for example 3, we are going to look at the change in temperature. It says, in Fairfield, Montana on December 24, 1924, the air temperature dropped a record amount. At noon, the temperature was 63 degrees Fahrenheit. 12 hours later, the temperature was negative 21 degrees Fahrenheit. What was the change in temperature? Again, I am going to draw you guys a picture just to help us visualize this. Let's draw a thermometer here, a straight line. Sorry, guys. Okay. So the temperature starts at 63 degrees Fahrenheit. So this mark will represent our 63 degrees Fahrenheit, and it drops to negative 21 degrees Fahrenheit. And they want to know what is the change in temperature. Well, it started here and it ended here. So I'm looking for this change from here to here. So from 63 to 0, that will represent a 63 degree change. And from 0 to negative 21, that would represent a 21 degree change. So in all, 63 plus 21 is 84. And because my temperature is falling, this will be represented with a negative integer. So the answer is going to equal negative 84 degrees Fahrenheit. So that would be your illustration, and to show you guys using a formula, you need to remember that you want to take the ending temperature and subtract your starting temperature. So let's use this little formula and just fill in our numbers. Our ending temperature was -21. We're looking for the change, so that means subtract the starting temperature, which was 63. Alright, I can see that I'm subtracting integers because of my subtraction sign in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and use the vertical line model, and we're going to keep the first number the same, change the subtraction to addition, and change the second number to its opposite. This is called adding the opposite. Now we just have an adding integers problem, and you guys learned from our previous lesson that if the signs are the same, which in this case they are both negative, so the signs are the same, I'm going to add the numbers together, so I'm just going to come to the side and add 63 plus 21, which is 84. The signs are the same, so add the numbers and keep the same sign. So we're going to keep the negative, -84. So you can see from the illustration and from our formula, both ways give you -84 degrees Fahrenheit as the change in temperature. Now it's time for you guys to try some subtraction problems. I'm going to open up a blank sheet here and work out 1 through 5 for you. And what I'd like for you to do is press pause on your video screen, try 1 through 5 on your notes page, and then check your work. Press play and check your work with me. Then I would like for you to complete 6 through 12 on your own, and tomorrow in class we will check those. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to work on, you press pause right now and try 1 through 5, and then check your work with me. Okay, I hope you didn't find that too difficult. Let's go ahead and get started with number 1. You have 5 minus 12. So I'm going to start by drawing my 2 vertical lines. And remember, with subtracting, we are adding the opposite. If you need to write that in the margin just to help you remember, right, add the opposite. Alright, so we're going to keep our first term the same. You change your subtraction to addition, and the opposite of 12 is -12. We are adding the opposite. And now you just follow your adding integer rules, which say if the signs are different, find the difference. So what I'll do mentally is just think in my head, 12 take away 5 is 7. So we found the difference because the signs are different, and we're going to keep the bigger sign. 12 is bigger than 5, so we're going to keep that negative. Your answer is -7. All right, let's try number 2. Number 2 says -2 minus 6. Again, I'll use the vertical bars. You'll keep your first term exactly the same, -2. We'll change the subtraction to addition and change the second number to its opposite, making it -6. As I look at my terms, I'm adding integers, and the rule says if the signs are the same, which in this case they're both negative, I'm going to add the numbers together. So in my head I'm thinking 6 plus 2 is 8. If the signs are the same, you add the numbers and keep the same sign, -8. Okay, number 3 says 6 minus -16. Keep in mind that this is just parentheses. It's just there to separate your minus sign from your negative number. So I'll just use these bars to help separate my problem. I'm going to keep the first number the same, change the subtraction to addition, and change the second number to its opposite, making it +16. So now I just have an adding integer problem, and pretty simple because they're both positive. 6 plus 16 is 22. Okay, for number 4, we've got negative 11 minus negative 7. All right, again, I'll draw my bars. I've got negative 11, so I'll keep that one the same. I'll change my subtraction to addition, and then the opposite of negative 7 is positive 7. Negative 11 plus 7, I'm adding integers, and I notice that the signs are different. So I'm going to come to the side and find the difference. So in my head, I'm thinking 11 take away 7 is 4. Find the difference between the numbers and then keep the sign of the larger number. So in this case, 11 is larger than 7, so you're going to keep that negative. So negative 4 is your answer. All right, and for number 5, we have negative 13 minus a negative 12. Again, I'll draw my lines here. You keep the first number exactly the same, change the subtraction to addition, and change the second number to its opposite, making it positive 12. All right, you're adding integers, so think of your adding integer rule. If the signs are different, which in this case we've got a negative and a positive, if the signs are different, we're going to find the difference. So in my head, I'm thinking 13 minus 12, find the difference, is 1, and keep the sign of the larger number. 13 is larger than 12, so we're going to keep the negative. Your answer is negative 1. All right, hopefully you're getting the hang of subtracting integers. I want you to continue the Your Turn questions. Please have 6 through 12 complete, and we will review those tomorrow. Have a good evening.